Okay, now this is a great sutra from the Gita. Now there is the Shakti and then there is the Shiva. All of you remember the picture of the angels and the demons, the Devas and Asuras? And you do realize that it's possible for an angelic energy, a Devic energy, to try to control and crush an Asuric energy? You do realize that? And you do also realize that an Asuric energy can be at loggerheads with a Devic energy and can try to kill a Devic energy? A demonic energy can kill an angelic energy? Yes, that is clear to you. Okay, now in the spiritual life, it's very important that whatever the angels and the demons they're doing, the cosmic life energies as the angels, the cosmic life energies as the demons, whatever they're doing, then they should just be doing peacefully without dissipating that energy in conflict and in fighting with each other. That's so important. That's so important. And here, the sutra opens a door for us. So Krishna said to Arjuna, through sadhana, through practice and detachment, you will be able to tame Shakti. In the beginning, remember that? So Arjuna says to Krishna, Chanchalam hi manaha Krishna pramati balavadridam. That is, the mind is so restless, so fickle. How to control it? It's so restless, it's so fickle, so stupid. How do you control it? Then Krishna says, yeah, what you're saying is right. It's very fickle. It's very turbulent. It's very stubborn. But with practice and detachment, it's going to come under control. With practice and with detachment. So what is that practice? So the uddharet atmanatmanam, natmanam avasadayet, atmaiva hi atmano bandhur, atmaiva ripuratmanaha. So save, let the higher self, that is Shiva, save the lower self in you. So let Shiva take the true position of being the observer. Let him take the true position, which is his natural position by default. That is his natural position. Let him take that position and let him uplift the false self or the Shakti which is loitering about and which is creating so much of chaos. And don't go for avasadiyat. Don't go for self-deprecation. Don't tell yourself, I am a sinner. Don't tell yourself, I am so guilty, I am so bad, I don't deserve this, I don't deserve that. That is self-deprecation. That is to be unspiritual. That is as unspiritual as self-aggrandizement. Self-aggrandizement, you go on blowing your trumpet. You say, you give your visiting card to everybody, and you say, you are a CEO here, you are a CEO there, and all that rubbish. So the self-aggrandizement and the self-deprecation, they're both equally bad because they are two extremes. And then, uddharet at, so save, let the lower self be saved by the higher self, not by a judgmental criticism and a conflicting observation, but by just watching, like how a loving mother will watch a small infant commit a mistake and not correct it because of the compassion. Got it? The mother will not interfere. Mother will know that the child will automatically learn, but just will keep her vigilant eye on the infant, and the infant will do something. And if the mother is not so intelligent, she may try to be controlling. Yes, I'm talking of intelligent mothers. Just watchful, very vigilant, very watchful, very vigilant. And then the child will do something. And if the child knows that the mother is watching, but never correcting, then what happens? Then the child actually comes running back to the mother because the child knows that it is doing something mischievous, which it ought not to do, and knows that mother is watching, but mother has not opened her mouth. So the child is aware of it, so the child will come back. Now this is the coming back of Shakti to Shiva. The mother is Shiva. The intelligent mother is Shiva. She's just watching the baby, watching the infant. He is trying to put some electric, he's turning on electric switches, then he's going and putting his finger into something, and that's Shakti. And so the self can be your friend. So self can be your friend. The self can be your enemy. So ask yourself, are you your own enemy or are you your own best friend? Ask yourself that question. And discover the answer yourself. hard work? Are you your own best friend? Or are you perpetually at war with yourself? And self-condemnatory in your approach, criticizing yourself? Or are you, have you just accepted everything that is there in your life as something which God has put in this body and in this consciousness, and you are at peace? What is your position? You got to find the answer. Are you your own best friend? Are you your own enemy? Where do you stand? Both. Okay. Sometimes you're the best friend and sometimes you're the enemy. Okay, that's then you're not winning, because you've got to be completely your own best friend and you can't be half-half. Of course, to be your own enemy is the worst. You're better than that. You're half enemy, half friend. But why are you not your own best friend? Why is consciousness not whole and integrated and quiet and working only when there is an assignment which is worth attending to? Otherwise, why should consciousness work at all? It can always be resting. Your car is in the garage when there is no work. It's not loitering about on the streets. So when there's an assignment, yeah, the car will go out. It will go shopping and it will come back. But why should thought function when there is no actual assignment, proper assignment? It has to just be resting. So you are your own, by default you're your own enemy, because you're not actually addressed yourself to the challenge of integrating this consciousness and making it whole, a single entity without contradictions. You got to make that first, because that's the essence of the spiritual life. Got to accept everything that is there, which is put there by God, as legitimate and holy. Even the sinful things, so-called sinful things, where the religion says this is sinful, but God has put everything there. And this is not the dustbin, this is the altar of God. So accept everything as the handiwork of God and stop struggling against your true nature. Stop struggling and be in that silence. That's the sadhana. Then watch every thought and feeling, not with a view to improve it in the future. Now that's a deception. No, don't go on the track. Not with a view to improve yourself and make yourself a great saint in the future. No, you finished. Because that's the path of becoming. That's a lovely trap for all spiritual people. You become bigger and bigger, greater and greater. Then where are you going, man? How far are you going to go in this becoming, game of becoming? That game has to end, basically. Because becoming is good for worldly life. It's not good for spiritual life. So, keep watching that. Keep watching. Let Shiva watch every vibration of Shakti. And because it is Shiva who is watching, he's not going to criticize, he's not going to condemn. He's going to allow her to do all the mistakes that she has to do by fate, till she's beaten her and then she comes back home. So this is the, you can be your own best friend, you can be your, so one should raise oneself by oneself alone, the self, and the self is Shiva. The self is Shiva, and Shiva is already there. Let not one lower oneself, for the self alone is the friend of oneself, and the self alone is the enemy of oneself. When consciousness is not running, it's become quiet, it's become integral, it's become whole, it's not fighting with itself, then you are connected to the source, but you will not know it. You don't believe it? These are very tall stories we are hearing in a retreat. You're in Maya, so you won't believe me, I know.
You don't know it, so if you, can it be that if you create the illusion that you know it, you lost it?
Yeah, that's the first step in the fall. That's the first step in the fall. Be very careful. You can't gloat on your success. So you got to keep watching. So first, consciousness must become integral, it must become whole, it must become very quiescent. Not mischievous and riotous and loafing. No, that's the present state of Shakti. She must give up her loafing. She must come back home. And then it must all be integrated and must be very quiet. No struggling with yourself. And no struggling with anybody else also. Except everything as given by the divine. And if you're lucky, then the consciousness is very whole, is very wonderful, is very quiet. Now you're connected, but you don't know it. So how are you going to find out that you're connected? Now you've got to keep watching your life events. You've got to keep watching all that is happening to you in your life. Maybe for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, you keep watching. When you are integral, you're whole, you've got integrity, you speak what you feel, and you think only what you feel. Your thinking is not in one direction, your feeling is not in another direction, your spoken word is not in yet a third direction. They're all like vectors in the same direction. Complete integrity. And when you have complete integrity, you're connected to God. So now how do you know you're connected to God? Now you've got to keep watching your life events. And then impossible things will start happening to you. You've got to observe it very closely, like a scientist observes through the microscope or an astronomer observes through the telescope. Make detailed observations on events happening in your life. Impossible things happen, miracles start happening in your life. And then you've got to, miracle may happen to many people. Now begins the investigation after a miracle has happened, an impossible miracle. How did this happen? From where did this miracle manifest itself? Am I the power? Or is there a power beyond me? Is there a power beyond me? Where is the power? Where is the home of that power? Can I know that power? Can I understand that power? Can I be devoted to that power? That's the search. And now because consciousness has become whole and there is no conflict at all of any kind, you're very peaceful. So real inquiry is possible for the first time in your life. Because you have absolutely no distraction in thought. The senses are no more giving you an invitation to a feast somewhere. All invitations have stopped. It's become very quiet. And therefore, you can apply yourself. You become very perceptive because intelligence is awakened. Prajna pratishtita. That intelligence becomes well established. So you become a very diligent observer. You're observing your life. And then you find impossible things are happening. Now you want to trace, how do these things happen? Where from are they happening? Is there a God? Because this is just beyond me. I didn't imagine that this will happen. But you're in some way a minor architect in the happening. You're a minor architect, yes. You may not be the senior architect. You're a junior architect in that happening. And then you've got to crack that mystery, pursue that mystery. Study it very closely, like how a researcher will study it. And then you will find that, and then you've got to study the scriptures to know about God. Because if you do not study the scriptures, then you will never know in a whole lifetime the mystery of God. You will never know. So got to study, got to contemplate, got to be original, got to do the search yourself. No spoon feeding will help. Because that is second-hand knowledge. That is not your genuine knowledge. That is second-hand. So you've got to do the work yourself by observing and then by finding out. And then you'll find that this God, his abode is the unmanifest. It's not in any galaxies. It's not in space. It's not in time. It's way outside the whole thing. And impossible for thought to even comprehend. And it will be a discovery which you will make. You'll actually make, if you come on the path and you start studying your life and consciousness has subsided and after 60 the call of the senses is all over for you, then you can make this discovery. But till then, Maya will be very strong. She will not allow you to make this discovery. She'll keep giving you a feast for the senses every now and then, and you'll be happy with it. Okay. So, how many of us actually are fighting with ourselves And we have not yet accepted every demonic trait in ourselves as a natural endowment of the divine, even though it's demonic. It's demonic according to the viewpoint of society. It's demonic, yes, according to the viewpoint of society. But it's an endowment God has given us. God has put all the angels and all the demons in our chest. And the angels are demons. They are in a drama. They are play acting. They're happening in the theater of this body and theater of this consciousness. And then, in how many of us, the angels and the demons, they're completely at peace. They become brothers and sisters. Be honest. I'm going to take an opinion poll now. I give you 2 minutes to think. 2 minutes to be your own examiners. Anybody at the present time in a very deep crisis, boiling crisis? Boiling crisis at the present moment? This week, last month? Yeah, you are a candidate. Yeah, good. 2 more candidates. Very good. Another one. Thank you. Thank you. Lovely. Lovely. I have hope. Great. 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 Lovely. Lovely. Thank you. You're my friends. Now, the angels and the demons which are there, are they quarreling with each other or are they at peace?
Fighting.
They're quarreling. How sad. How sad. Now, do you think you will be able to observe the quarreling? You think you'll be able to observe the quarreling?
Yes.
Of course, you can observe the quarreling. Are you going to tamper with what you are observing?
No.
You shouldn't, yeah. But you will. But you will. Because you've got some goals, you've got some aspirations, and you don't like yourself, you want to change yourself, you want to become a more holy guy, right? Yeah. So just got to observe that. Observe what is going on, the conflict between the angels and the demons. And now watch, remember the picture, the mythic picture of the angels and the demons with God, Father in heaven, sitting on top. And you got to, and the Father in heaven is present in you as the eternal witness and the eternal awareness. But he is not manifest, he is just there. And if you are able to recognize that you are indeed that witness, then you're covered good ground. You are that witness. You have always been only that witness. Who else can be the witness? And therefore, from that vantage point, you've got to observe the conflict between the angels and the demons, never correcting, never tampering with what you're observing, with a great deal of compassion for yourself. You've got to be compassionate with yourself. That's the first lesson in the spiritual life. You've got to be very, very compassionate. If you think you are the sinner, then you've got to be one with the Father in heaven so that you can forgive the sinner and stop fighting with that sinner. And there are people in the world who have divine qualities, and they may be somewhere here, they may be somewhere here. And it's very easy for them to cultivate the noble virtues and to practice so many austerities. It comes very naturally to them. But if your nature is more on the demonic side, say near to or somewhere here, then any amount of religious teaching is not going to work for you, because your nature is contrary to everything that is said in the religions. They say, be truthful, you are damn dishonest. They say, be clean, you are very filthy. So you can't follow any of those things. Then what is the hope for that part of creation which doesn't have the divine ingredients in sufficient measure? They got it in very small measure, and they've got more of the demonic ingredients. So for them, got to now, the Father in heaven is anyway there. He's on the citadel. He's the vantage point. Now from there, you've got to start watching the drama of life as it happens in the theater of your consciousness. Start watching. Not with a view to criticize, not with a view to condemn. Go on watching. Especially the good candidates who are my friends, they have to go on watching. Got to go on watching. And then I know one question has already surfaced in your consciousness. Now, how long should we do this watching? For years. Bad news for everybody. Bad news. No shortcuts. Bad news. You've got to keep watching. Because as you keep watching, you're going to learn. Because you never learned, you learned a lot of things in the university and college, but never in the spiritual life. In the spiritual life, you're blind, you're only following. No learning. No learning. Only blind, only following. So now you're going to learn. So as you keep watching, you're going to learn about yourself. Self-knowing is going to become intense. Self-knowing. And then conflict, which has been a way of life, is going to end. Good news. It's going to end completely. It's going to end. And you're not going to suffocate yourself to make anybody else happy in the world. No, don't do it. Treat the self with great dignity and with great respect. In one of the Hindu scriptures, it is said, everything else is done for the pleasing of the self, but the pleasing of the self is not done for anything else. What does this mean? Everything is done for the pleasing of the self, but the pleasing of the self is not done for anything else, which means the pleasing of the self is the highest goal for man, because he is pleasing himself in hundreds and millions of different ways. For somebody, the self is pleased if he runs after money. For somebody, the self is pleased if he has more sex. For somebody else, he is very pleased only if he gets a big name. So he's running after that name. So, common denominator. Everybody wants to please the self. Everybody is seeking that happiness which is the nature of the self. The nature of the self is bliss, ananda. Sat Chit Ananda. Sat is existence, Chit is awareness, Ananda is its essential attribute. That is the nature of that thing. So because your intrinsic nature is just boiling happiness, because every minute you are seeking more and more of this happiness in every step in life. Because your very nature is only happiness. And so you want more and more of happiness, endless quantities of this happiness, because you are that. And how sad that God put some spokes in the wheel and he spoiled that happiness through pain. And now therefore there's a lesson for us. So work with that pain, work with that pain. Die to every experience. Die to every experience so that you will come home to that happiness. You will come home to that lovely feeling of just being yourself, not being somebody else. Just being yourself. Just being yourself will be so delightful. You know, you've got no big visiting card, but you're so happy because you're just yourself. And that's a great thing in itself. So shall we do this now as meditation? So then, when you do this, actually what happens is, the Shakti, which is in the form of 9 the angels and the demons, the array of the angels and the demons, all the angels and the demons fuse. And they become the single Shakti. She becomes whole and she becomes integral. And then she comes to rest on the lap of Shiva. And because Shiva is intelligence, the intelligence is awakened because of that. The union of Shiva and Shakti. So, look at the previous position of Shakti. She is very violent. She has completely downgraded Shiva.